Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Let's talk about that fight that took place this last weekend before Mikkel Kessler, who many consider to be the favorite to win the Showtime Super Middleweight Tournament, and Andre Ward. First, let's talk about the mythology that's developed in the last few days since the fight. There are claims that uh, Andre Ward was allowed to headbutt Kessler repeatedly by an American referee, and that there was excessive holding in the fight. Kessler was not allowed to fight his fight, that the scoring was uneven, and that the inference is that somehow the American referee favored the American fighter. Let me just point out that anyone who has seen the fight knows that that mythology is simply incorrect. In fact, quite frankly, the deck wasn't stacked for Andre Ward. If you actually investigate the judges in the fight, you'll find out that the deck was actually stacked for Mikkel Kessler. Two of the three judges were actually judges in Kessler's last fight. In other words, Kessler was able to approve two of the three judges. Now, significantly, those same two judges scored the fight for Andre Ward. Let me also point out, too, that with regard to headbutts, there are really no headbutts early in the fight. In fact, the headbutts seem to be a cover. Kessler's cuts, with the exception of the last cut, was actually caused by crisp punching. Let me also point out, too, that the allegation of excessive holding is a bit ridiculous, because when you look at the very early rounds of the fight, Andre Ward surprisingly came out and stood right in front of Kessler. In other words, this wasn't a fight where Kessler had to go looking for Andre Ward early. Ward, who is a boxing chameleon, he is a scientist in the sweet science. Ward actually came out early in the fight with a style that had him literally right in front of Mikkel Kessler. Now, Ward was clearly focused on Kessler's right hand. He took the right hand away from Kessler. That was the story of the fight. I believe Kessler's frustration in the fight stemmed from the fact that when he tried to get going, when he tried to throw that right hand, Ward was able to anticipate it. He was then able to step forward, and he was then able to do a move that Ray Robinson does, that Ali does, that many American fighters do. He was able to come in and clinch Mikkel Kessler. But make no mistake, there wasn't even the amount of holding that took place in the Carl Froch-Andre Durrell fight. Not only that, with Andre Ward throwing power shots, this wasn't even a case where an argument could be made that Andre Ward ran for the fight. In fact, quite frankly, this was, to me, the most impressive performance so far in the Super Six. You had an excellent champion, and keep in mind, Kessler going into this fight had only lost to Joe Calzaghe, and you had him being systematically dismantled by a guy who kept changing his boxing style as the fight went forward. In fact, Ward even switched to southpaw at one point and was effective. Ward then started staying outside of Kessler's range. Later in the fight, he was effective, and you can tell that right around the sixth or seventh round, Ward actually got a bit complacent and apparently decided he was going to try to knock out Kessler That's when you got some recklessness by Ward that actually left him vulnerable to some Kessler right hands, but Kessler by that point couldn't time Ward and couldn't land the punch. Now, I believe for boxing fans, Mikkel Kessler, who is a righty, is a lot like southpaw Miguel Cotto, who fights out of a right-hand stance. Both of these guys are very deadly when you're right in front of them. In other words, Mikkel Kessler, think about his fights. He sets stuff up with a jab, then he's able to dismantle you. He doesn't like you too close to him. He's not that good when you smother him. He can't handle someone who is too close to him, as Andre Ward was for times in this fight. And he also doesn't like to deal with movement. And you saw the blueprint on how to beat him in the Joe Calzaghe fight. The first 4 rounds of that Calzaghe fight were pretty even. Then Joe Calzaghe started moving a bit. And you saw that Calzaghe, who used speed as defense, was able to time Kessler's right hand. He took away Kessler's right cross. Kessler did land some right uppercuts, but Calzaghe was able to neutralize Kessler's right hand with movement and cadence, moving in and out, throwing combinations, keeping Kessler moving around the ring. Andre Ward took that one level further. For fans of Pernell Whitaker, you'll notice that Whitaker was such a defensive genius that he could literally play games not just horizontally in terms of standing right in front of you and not getting hit, but he was also fighting a vertical game where he could literally go low and be too low and too far away for his opponent to actually hit him with punches. If you look at the Whitaker-Chavez fight, you'll notice that sometimes Chavez was throwing punches at chest level, and they actually flew over Pernell Whitaker's head. Andre Ward is an advanced fighter at 20 years of age. He actually has a defensive style where, in addition to rolling his shoulders, he can actually fight you high or low. And I believe that three-dimensional box, added with movement, Joe Calzaghe type movement, Calzaghe would be proud of Andre Ward, made it simply impossible and very frustrating for Mikkel Kessler. Now, what does this mean? I see I have less than 2 minutes here. What it means is Kessler, just like Cotto, is still an elite fighter. He just was in a fight where his style did not match up with his opponent's style. If he's able to fight someone who will literally stay about 2 feet in front of him and not move, where he can actually shoot the excellent left jab that he has and then come over the top with his right hand, he's going to do fine. There are many fighters in this tournament who would be perfect for Mikkel Kessler to fight. One of them is his next opponent, Carl Froch. We'll deal with that fight in another video, but let me just say this. Don't consider the fight that just took place to be a monumental upset. Online here on YouTube, I told you I didn't know who was going to win the fight. The bottom line is this. Even though he was a big underdog in Las Vegas, Andre Ward is the real deal. The stuff he does in the ring, moving his feet, keeping the other guy off balance, changing styles through the fights, giving the other guy very poor angles, fighting inside, outside. Think about it. He's a guy who came in close on both Edison Miranda and Mikkel Kessler, two guys with heavy knockout punches. Andre Ward is the real deal. Keep an eye on him in the tournament. I believe he's going to take out Jermaine Taylor next. Don't be surprised if it's by KO.